Welcome back, AfterBuzzers, for episode 3 of American Princess entitled Down There. What are they talking about? Stay right there and we'll tell you.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the after show for American Princess on Lifetime Television. I am your host and moderator, Carla Renata, and sitting next to me is...
Kelsey Hightower. Hey, guys. Glad to be here. Excited.
Hi, guys. I'm Haley J. What's going on?
What's up, guys? I'm Taylor Gates. So excited to join this panel with you all.
Yes, we missed y'all last week, Miss Kelsey and Miss Taylor, but y'all are here this week.
We sure are.
Yes, we are.
And we are all here in full effect. I love it. So let's just do a little quick recap of last week. We were introduced to Amanda. Amanda was due to get married. She found out her boy cheated on her. He went down there on somebody else, or somebody else was going down there on him, I should say. And shenanigans ensue. She goes to what she thinks is a medieval wedding. It ends up being a Renaissance fair. She decides she's going to stay there. And that took 2 hours for us to find all of that out. And let me just give a big shout out to the girl who plays Maggie, Queen Shauna, who shouted us out on Twitter saying that she loved the show. Shauna's going to come over here and visit us. The showrunner, executive producer Jamie Dimbo is coming over here. Rory O'Malley is coming. Dione Collins is coming. Oh, God, there's so many of the cast members that are coming. We have a whole list of people coming. So we just wanted to say that we're really excited for you guys to come and to give you a big old shout out. All right, so let's get right on into episode 3 entitled Down There. Ooh, honey. So... Yes. I love the fact, I said this last week, I love the writing on the show. It's so hardcore and just in your face with the shenanigans that they say, like stuff like
They go there.
They're really not afraid to say anything on this show. I feel like they are very witty, very smart with the writing, and they are not scared. And I think we see that with the episode titles as well. Mm-hmm. They really set us up for anything. And they're not afraid to talk about the down theres and the up heres and all of it.
I was shocked at some of it. I did not expect them to go places they went, but we don't want to give that. I'm sure they saw the episode, won't give it away. But at the end where they, showed the full hair.
I was like, well, okay then.
We were trying to figure out why is it called Down There, and I think we got our answer.
Yeah, we fully did. We fully did at the end of the episode. So basically, this episode, now that Amanda's there and she's in the Renaissance Fair, she's trying to get her legs. She's trying to figure out how to fit in. She's trying to figure out how to ingratiate Miss Maggie, because Maggie is not having her by any stretch of the imagination. So she's trying to figure out how she can ingratiate herself to her, and then shenanigans ensue. So what did you guys think about the episode overall?
I thought it was a lot of fun. I love Maggie, not even to just... I know she loves us back, but she has been my favorite character since the first episode, just because she has that, edge to her. I love, the sort of girl boss attitude in a very different way than what we usually see, with the whole, Renaissance fair lens. And so I thought it was a lot of fun seeing her and Amanda interact, because they're obviously... very different people, so it's fun to see them kind of butt heads and then also bond in some respects too.
Absolutely. I love and we were talking about the writing, so I love that they say stuff like there's a G-spot awareness class being taught by Callie. They said they called the Canterbury Tales the original 50 Shades. They were talking, then there's that moment where Brian has on his real clothes, who plays William Shakespeare. He's got on his real clothes, and he has on these teal shorts, and they offer him a little spot to sit on the cooler, and he's like, yeah, teal is too...
I love that.
What did he say? He said light teal is too risky. I hollered out loud.
That was a very LA moment.
I laughed out loud. It was so funny. The whole monologue that Amanda did, where they were trying to get her to become comfortable with using the Queen's English, where she does that whole monologue about the Queen's bush, and then the Queen shows up. Shenanigans. And then I love the fact that Delilah did that whole Karate Kid reference where she said, "Grasshopper, you're learning." I just laugh out loud every time I watch the show. I laugh out loud. It's pure comedy.
They found a way to modernize medieval times in a way, so it's making it very relatable to our modern world. Obviously, in some very blunt ways with the cell phones and stuff, but in the way of the writing, like you're talking about, being able to say that sort of language in a modern twist, but also using Shakespearean language.
To add on to your point, I like the fact that they do have such funny writing and all those things keep us on our toes, but at the end of the day, we still see a lot of character development and breakthrough, and I think even the line was psychological development. I've never seen it this fast, so we're still seeing the characters grow and develop, but they do it in a funny way where we're not bored by it. It's progressive and it flows really nice.
Yeah, I love the fact that they are really showing Amanda being in this moment of totally tapping out of her old life and trying to embrace this one, because it's just a mental and physical escape for her. Like, she's just trying to escape from the madness that was supposed to be her wedding, the madness of her mother, who's, basically is telling her on a daily basis how she can't do anything right, the madness of her friends who are so caught up in, what's going viral and what's relevant on this social media platform or that social media platform. I love how she's kind of like, I'm not really trying to deal with all of that. I just want to deal with this moment and embrace this moment and get, comfortable here. And let's just talk about the fact that the chemistry between her and David is a little palpable. Let's talk a little bit about her and David for a second.
I love it.
They're both so smart too, it's so fun to see them go back and forth, because like they do have these different perspectives, but they're both so sharp that it's like they can hold that conversation at the same level with each other in a way that we don't know much about Brett, but I feel like he doesn't quite have that same, edge that she has. And, she went to Vassar and has all these English references. Right. And so I think that David's like a really good match for her.
He challenges her, I feel
exactly.
And he'll call her out like we were talking about before. He will say the things that most people in her past life won't say to her. So I think that's really exciting for her and keeps her on her toes. And at the end of the day, we all want that. We all want someone to keep us excited.
Exactly. I think the most prolific line that they said in this episode, which pretty much encapsulates what the whole series is about, or what we're discovering the whole series is about, is a phrase from Improv where they said that this is more of a yes and kind of place, as opposed to no, I'm not going to do, or I don't know. It's more of a yes and. So yes, and let's see what's going to happen in this moment. Yes, and let's go to the grocery store. Yes, and let's go check out these oils. It's a yes and kind of thing. And as long as it's a yes and type of environment for her, then the fantasy and the discovery for her will always be fresh and new and something that she can kind of wrap her brain around in the moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I like too is from the outside perspective, everyone thinks she's trapped, but this is the place that she feels the most free. Right. So it tells us that these people never really understood who she was.
No, not at all. Not at all. So during our course of doing American Princess here at AfterBuzz TV, we're always going to do a little recap for you. We're always going to talk about the episode before and the episode that we just watched, or that you just watched as well. And if you didn't watch it, then we kind of catch you up on what's going on and with the shenanigans over in the medieval madness. And then we also are going to have two different segments. One special segment is going to be news by Haley, and then another special segment will be a medieval minute or a medieval madness kind of, moment by my girl Kelsey right here. So right now, I think I'm going to swing it on over to Miss Haley so she can get into the news.
Okay.
All right, guys. So as a lot of you may know,
gotta get the great little sound drop.
Jumped again. We're celebrating Gay Pride over here, especially in Los Angeles. So I wanted to kind of bring that to light with the current news of this episode, where Rory O'Malley, who plays Brian, is talking about the representation of his gay character. And he speaks a little bit on the fact that his character has a relationship, and he goes to say that it sounds so crazy, but I've never experienced this as an actor. I played plenty of gay characters, and I've never gotten to have this fully realized three-dimensional relationship with another gay character. So for the first time, he's actually feeling like this is just normal, and it doesn't have to be a discussion. This is just a different type of relationship in the series, and I really like that he can finally play a character that is so comfortable in just being himself. And then he goes on to say that he has so much respect for the show creator, Jamie Denbo, because she always goes there. And just like I was saying before, there was no previous discussion of how are people going to respond to this? What's the reaction going to be like? She just went with it, no questions asked, and we're loving it. So I wanted to share that.
Yeah, we are loving it. And to speak to what you just mentioned, we talked a little bit last week about how diverse the cast is. We have people that are gay. We have people that are playing gay. And I don't think, and this is something that came up in the news this week, actually. So I was telling y'all off camera, the Tony Awards are happening tonight. That's why I'm all sparkly in honor of the Tony Awards. So the Tony Awards are happening tonight, and a friend of mine, Billy Porter, won the Tony for Kinky Boots, right? But earlier this week, he was in the news talking with the Hollywood Reporter about the fact that, you know, a lot of times, just like with people with disabilities, there are people that don't have disabilities playing people with disabilities. There are people that are straight that are playing gay people, when there are gay people that are really good actors and very capable of playing something in that lane. So the fact that Rory is a gay person playing a gay person is a really big deal, because it is not only acknowledging the people that are good in that lane that can do the job, but they're not reaching back to a straight person in order to cast that role.
Right, or just fully being represented as himself and then now on screen. I think that's a really great thing that this show is doing, and I hope that continues.
Yeah.
I know. I think Hollywood is slowly growing in this area because, like we were talking about, it's you take the stereotype or the person who's always done it, like a straight person playing a gay person, and they're not maybe. As far as like going to auditions, there's so many auditions and so many opportunities to get cast in your field, but it's like, are they opening the scope enough to find those people? And I feel like it's now slowly starting to happen, which is such a good thing, but it's just taken such a long time to get to where we are, I think, in Hollywood. And I feel like we're kind of slow in the way that we move and progress. It's interesting because we're fast and like there's social media and all of that's like ahead of its time, but in a lot of areas, if you think of like the way that old studios were run and stuff like that, it's very slowly trying to like catch up to speed with like what's going viral or how to do things. Like network TV versus streaming TV, you can see just this huge gap and a huge jump between that. So I just feel like casting is also trying to catch up in the old-fashioned sort of way, you know? So I'm glad that it's happening. It's sad that it's slow, but at least it's happening, you know.
Take the slow progress rather than no progress.
I guess, you know, take what you can get. But
I feel like this show is like the perfect place to kind of do that though, and it makes so much sense to me that this show would be like so inclusive, because it's like it's a Renaissance fair. It's like where all the people who don't feel like they belong, you know, really anywhere else, like find their family. And that's a theme that I really, really love that they kind of explore on this show. I wasn't here last week to talk about it, but one of the moments I really loved was when Maggie, the queen, was just like shouting out different people, and like this person passed their like board exam, and this person that came out to their parents, and I was like, this is so beautiful that these people who do have, you know, day jobs that aren't necessarily in this world, like this is where they feel safe and where their family is. And so it's cool that it sounds like that kind of happened behind the scenes too.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. And one of the things that struck me, because I just think like this, every time they show the Queen's quarters, I'm like, what's going to happen when it rains? Because that's all cloth. I'm like, does she have compensation for when it's going to rain? I need to, inquiring minds want to know, Shauna. Hit me up on Twitter and let me know.
We got to ask about that one.
I'm like, it's happened before though.
It doesn't rain on the Queen.
Oh, that's true. Oh my goodness. Or they're in California. It's a drought. They don't have to worry about the rain.
Well, it rains.
I'm kind of late.
I'm just saying, that song, It Never Rains in California, is not true. It does rain in California. It might be few far and in between, but it does rain here now. But every time I see her go in that tent with all that lovely stuff in there, I'm like, what are they doing? I'm like, what are they going to do when it rains? Does she have like a giant umbrella to cover that bad boy? I just need to know.
Brian's going to be out there with an umbrella.
Right?
Yes.
I was just like, what is happening? I need to know.
God save the Queen.
God save the Queen. Oh, like they said this week.
Oh, no.
Remember they said that this week?
Yes.
I hollered and laughed out loud at so many different lines this week. It just made me tee-hee. But just to wrap up what we were saying about the whole diversity of the cast, this is the thing, and what you were saying about Hollywood being diverse, and you, Haley, about it being slow to progress and everything. I remember there was a time where, I forget what movie it was, but there was a movie where Robert Downey Jr. put on blackface and got nominated for an Oscar for that. I also remember that there was a time where Mickey Rooney, they pulled his eyes back. I think it was Barefoot in the Park, where he played a Chinese man. Like, they couldn't find no Chinese actors to play a Chinese landlord. I'm just saying.
Recently, with Matt Damon playing The Great Wall, I believe is the title of that movie. I mean, there was outrage with that happening as he's playing an Asian man, and the whole cast is diverse. I mean, I've seen a lot of movies. I was talking to somebody else about this, where I saw a movie over this past week where the two main characters were speaking in a very Americanized accent, and the whole rest of the cast was from a different country. And it was like, okay,
What's happening?
Yeah. I mean, you're teaching kids or whoever, that's watching this show that it's like America is the right way to go and like, or whatever, that's the normal. And then everybody in the rest of the cast can speak in their own language or be where they're from. It's like, no, you need to make that authentic, and it's just, we can see that now. I feel like we're, as an audience, becoming more transparent to that.
We're becoming more educated. We're
yes.
becoming more educated through the content that's being thrown at us. That's why American Princess is a really important show, because not one time do they ever refer to anybody's ethnicity or their sexuality or anything like that and go, look, hey, I'm gay. Hey, I'm a lesbian. Hey, I use, tools to make myself happy. Like, none of those labels are attached to the characters, and they just leave us with the opportunity to enjoy these characters for who they are, which is a really, really beautiful thing.
It is.
We're
It's so
seeing
lovely.
reality through a fantasy world, essentially, where it's like, this is, you're all pretending, but this is what it should be like.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Look at you. Haley breaking
So
it down.
deep.
She being all deep and prolific.
here.
You go, girl.
You guys should see me after a glass of wine. Just kidding.
Okay,
Anyway, moving on.
I cannot.
We'll start report next week,
I cannot. Well, maybe we should have a glass of wine in honor of American Princess, since they always have
Supporting
libations.
her drinking
We should have goblets. We should have
They have
goblets
some
and libations
hardcore
too.
libations.
Fine.
All right, we have gone so far off track talking about drinking. So swing it back around. Let's hit my girl Kelsey with the medieval moment.
Yes. Okay, I have a medieval moment for everyone. We talked a lot in this episode. We saw them talking about improv and medieval reenactment. So I'm just going to give you guys a little educational moment on medieval reenactment. So that, if you don't know, is a form of historical reenactment that focuses on reenacting European history with the period from the fall of Rome to about the end of the 15th century. Okay, so that's your time period. The second half of this period is called the Middle Ages, which is referred to a lot in this series. Then we have the medieval period orientated living history groups and reenactors focus on recreating civilian or military life in a period of the medieval ages. So we're seeing people reenacting those types of categories, which are civilian or military life. Then an example of living history activities would include authentic camping. We see a lot of that, right?
A lot of
do.
that in American Princess.
Cooking.
A lot of that.
A lot of cooking. Practical historical skills and trades, and playing historical musical instruments or board games. So that's
Have we seen a board game yet? I don't think so.
We haven't seen board games, but we've seen them singing a little bit.
Yeah, they sing quite a bit.
And-
Like, they started out with Hallelujah in this episode. I'm like, Remember, I was like, oh, they are not breaking into a chorus of Hallelujah. Like, really? That song is so oversung.
That's true. So that is kind of an overview of like what period we're in and what we're seeing, and then we'll get into, as we go on later throughout the series, some more medieval facts.
Yay, thank you, Miss
Amazing.
Kelsey.
Yeah.
We love that. You know what this show kind of reminds me of? Do y'all remember that movie, Sweet Home Alabama?
Yes.
With Reese Witherspoon and Patrick Dempsey. So it was on TV. It's one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite Reese, her name is hard to say sometimes, Reese Witherspoon movies, because there's that whole section in the film where she's trying to find her dad, and they're doing a whole reenactment of like the Civil War, and they're all laying on the ground, and she's trying to find, she's like, Dad, and they all kind of pop up, and they're like, who you looking for, honey? And I'm like, I cannot. Like the whole fact that they had, and then there's that other moment where there's somebody trying to shoot a gun, and her friend Bobby Ray or Bobby Lee or Bobby somebody.
I think it was Bobby Ray.
Was trying to help. He says, I better go back before he kills himself, because he was like, I can't figure out how to load this gun. I hollered. It makes me laugh whenever, and then of course we have something like that exists on the West Coast in terms of a theme park with Busch Gardens in Virginia.
Ooh.
They do reenactments at Busch Gardens all the time. Why do I know this? Why is that random knowledge in my head? Let me explain to you. I used to work at King's Dominion, which was right up the road from Busch Gardens back in the day. And so I know that they would do those reenactments. And I'm always a little bothered by Civil War reenactments for obvious reasons. I'm not a big fan of that, but it makes me laugh just the same.
Have you guys ever been to anything like medieval times, Renaissance fairs, anything at all
I've
like
been
that?
to a Renaissance fair.
How was that?
It was a lot of fun,
Was
actually.
it comparable to what we're seeing in the show?
Yeah, it actually was pretty similar. Like, I went to one of, like, the little mud show things. I'm like, oh I
my
know what
gosh.
he's doing. The food is amazing.
That's what I would
It's
go
like
for.
it's like food
So
on
good.
steroids, right?
Yeah, they have awesome food. A lot of people dressed up.
I just
There
want to
was-
like hold the leg.
Dude, yeah, it's enormous.
Feeling empowered by it.
It was enormous. And then they had like a night fight as well. which-
jousting?
Yeah, like
Cool.
a jousting type thing, which I know they kind of touched on like the last episode. But I was like, it feels pretty authentic, and I feel like the showrunner definitely has an interest, probably has an interest in it, and did a lot of research because it feels real.
We talked about that actually on the last show. The showrunner had the real life experience where she was going for an audition and found herself in the middle of the Renaissance fair, and that's what sparked the whole idea.
I love it.
I can't wait to talk to her about that. She'll be here. I think she's coming. I know Shauna's coming June 16th, and I think Jamie's going to come sometime in July.
So
but,
excited.
as we move forward and the dates get closer, we'll tell you guys when those dates are. Yay! Cannot wait. All right, so as we rounded out this last episode, we saw a preview for the next episode, episode 4, where Amanda's friends pay a visit to the Renaissance Fair. How y'all think that's going to turn out?
Oh, obviously, I think they are going to be lost. And they even mentioned in the promo, I think, that they were like, what are you doing here? Like, it's time to go back to civilization. It's going to be good for comedic reasons, but as far as the girls go, I don't think that they're going to last but a minute at the Renaissance
I'm
Fair.
looking forward to. I'm looking
minute.
forward to at least one of them kind of hanging out and staying. Like I'm feeling like at least one of them may kind of like hang out and stay.
Yeah.
And that's going. And I feel like that's probably going to pose some problems with her infatuation with David.
Oh.
See, I
Right?
definitely
I like
foreshadow some type of plan of her friends trying to pull her back out of this life, especially with what we got a taste of with the mom having some type of plan and bringing the hooker back. I'm sure we'll get to that, but I see her friends trying to secretly plot some way to bring her out.
I do
ruin
too,
the
but
fun.
I feel like her friends just don't care about her that much, to be honest. Like, they, hung up the phone when they were, like, FaceTiming with each other. They obviously don't care about really the real her. Like, she's found her people with the Renaissance Fair people. So I feel like they're just going to be judgmental, but not try as hard as we might think to bring her out. Because I just don't think they're, like...
I think
There are
they
people
were
that
friends
care
with her
that
because
much.
of her status,
Exactly.
even when
But I think they cared enough to come look for her. Like they cared. You think? Okay, so let me pose this question, you guys. Do you think that they showed up just to see what it was she was doing so that they could post about it, or do you think they genuinely cared enough about her to come see where she was and to drag her up and out?
I feel like it's all for social media with them. I really don't think they're genuine people.
Oh, that's messed up.
I think I side with you on that.
Oh, that's messed up.
I like this perspective. I think that
I love Kelsey. She's like, I like this perspective.
I'm cynical. I'm sorry. I don't like them.
I think that if you're disappearing from social media, other people will ask questions like, what happened to her? Where'd she go? And I feel like the friends have an obligation to be like, oh yeah, well, let me go find her and see what she is doing. Everybody keeps bothering me. Let's go find out. Let's go find the answers. So, that's what I see when I watch this girl.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that they have to go find her. If it's I don't know their intentions. I don't think that they're pure, but I think they'll go see what it's about. Maybe get some Instagram videos and post them to see if they can go viral.
Yeah, those dolls are shady boots. They are shady from their head down to their little toes, to their little manicured toes with their little jewels and stuff on it. They are shady boots. But I feel like there's a little truth to everything that y'all said, but I'm a hope against hope that at least one of them is like it a little bit true blue. I feel like at least one of them might be a little bit true blue and hang back, and then maybe she'll just get to a point where she's like, yeah, I gotta go. I gotta bounce. I can't do this. And then she'll do like a whole Instagram story before she leaves or something.
Get things.
Yeah.
Unless she's embarrassed of the fact that she's even there, but I could see her using it just to write a blog because they were so quick to talk about her whole scandal with the marriage. So I could see them turning it around to get some type of view, which would not be.
sure.
But I guess she doesn't need those friends in her life if that is
No,
the case.
who needs some kind of friends? Let's flip it back around to Hooker Helen.
Hooker Helen.
do
Hooker
that.
Helen, who showed up in the last chapter of this past episode. who scared the hell out of me. But what made me laugh out loud is the fact that she was talking with a lisp. Like
she doesn't have a tongue anymore.
That
was brilliant.
When she said, I was like, why is she talking with a lisp? And then as soon as I said that, she was like, well, you know, half part of my tongue is gone. I hollered. But as an actress, do you know how hard that must have been for her to pull that off? I was like, wow, she's good.
I would love to talk to her and just see the kind of process that it took to train to do that, how long it took.
How method did that go?
Right.
Oh my God, because that was bananas. That was bananas that she was talking with a full-on lisp, and I could understand every single solitary word she said. I just want to know how many takes it took to get it right. That's what I want to know. She couldn't have possibly done that in one take. Do y'all think she did that in one take?
I don't know. She probably, I feel like she had to have trained, like with an actual coach, be like, so how do you talk without half your tongue? You know, because there's no way that's just intuitive for you unless you're
and I do want to put a disclaimer that we're not making fun of anyone with the lisp, but just it would be challenging if you don't have one to try and emulate that.
No, we're not. We're definitely, thank you for that. We're definitely not making fun of anybody that has a lisp. But what we are making fun of is the fact that this actress turned it out. She turned it out with that lisp. She crushed it. I was like, I'm living for you, Hooker Helen, all day long.
Hooker Helen.
I know. I just love seeing that, Hooker Helen. I just love that. I just live for her all day long. I think she's hilarious. What do we think is going to happen with her mother? Do we think her mother and her sister are going to show up again?
Absolutely.
What do you think is going to happen when they come back?
Her mom's a snake in the grass.
I'm hoping, because, you know, we have this confrontation with Maggie and everything, but I feel like they could maybe grow to be closer. And so I would love to see Maggie tell off the mom, because she had this whole, you know, oh, she must have, like, been really, you know, critical of you when you were younger and is an alcoholic and all this stuff. So it would be nice to see her get more protective of Amanda.
I feel like that's
That
a
would
good
be
call.
lovely.
Yeah, that little brunch moment, that was funny, wasn't it? Like she went through all that trouble to have that brunch moment, and Maggie just shot her down.
She had it exactly right, too.
Ooh, girl, she
everything.
just
Like
loaded
a
up the
book.
shotgun and was like, I was like, oh wow, poor little
But do we think
Amanda.
Maggie had a similar growing up experience? Because they say it takes one to know one.
Yes.
So maybe that's how she could recognize. And to your point, maybe that's what will bond them in the end.
Yeah.
Because maybe they're more alike than different.
I'm thinking that's going to happen. So with most stories like this, where we start to see a romantic situation, but in the beginning, what do we think is going to eventually happen that brings David and Amanda together? And do we think that when that happens, is it going to change the trajectory of the storyline for us, those of us that are watching?
I think we're going to start seeing it pretty soon. The next episode is titled, Why Are You Romeo? So I think that maybe we'll get a little touch of romance in the next episode. So I think it's going to be a quick fall for him. But I don't know if it's going to last, because I think during some episode of this series, we're going to see her go back to her life. And somehow, I don't know what incident's going to happen for that to happen, but I think that she will go back to her original life for a moment and then realize she doesn't love it and go back to him maybe. But I think it's going to be a little taste of romance.
Okay. And what do you think is going to happen with her friendship with Delilah, who's played by Molly? That's whose name I couldn't remember. Molly's coming over here too. So what do we think is going to happen with her friendship with Delilah? Do we think, because there's that one moment where she said that she had a little thing with a woman one time, but it wasn't, you know, remember that? So I'm like, I wonder if her and Molly are going to have a moment, and if that becomes awkward too.
That would be fun.
I don't know. I didn't personally foreshadow that happening, but you never know with the show. It could go in any direction.
I feel like if there was a moment like that, it would be accidental. Like she got too drunk, like both of them got too drunk, and it just accidentally went too far or something. And then they would wake up the next day and be like, oh, hey, that's awkward.
I feel like Delilah wouldn't even think it's awkward, though, to be honest with you. She's just so open. I think that she's down for anything. She's like, oh, yeah, we made out, but, like, it's fine.
She would totally be that chick.
Yes.
She would
I
totally be
love
that
her.
chick. I adore her.
She's just such a real friend.
She's so funny. She's
And she
hilarious.
I love the way she told her that she was coming off a bit strong in the store, in the way of saying,
yeah.
people might love you less than I do at this moment. So, like, most people would be like, you're being crazy, stop. She was like, you know what? just, like she was still
She
so
was really
nurturing
sweet.
in her way of helping her friend.
She was very sweet.
I
and
want her to
nurturing.
be my friend.
Right?
It's like she's just
know.
a friend to everyone.
I need a Delilah in my life, honey.
Delilah.
Yes, Delilah, come over, girl. Come be our friend.
Yes.
We loves you. One other thing I didn't want to leave without discussing real quickly before we go is the fact that the guy who says stick all the time could actually talk.
Yeah, he can.
I was kind of hoping they would leave that out for a minute and just have him say stick for at least 3 or 4 episodes.
Play it a little longer.
Yeah, I just want that joke to last a little bit longer.
What do you think he meant by he wanted to master the stick? What is...
Master the shtick. You know what shticks
right,
means? It means
right.
like schmaltz, like, the joke.
But what is his whole concept of only saying stick?
See, we don't know, so
He's
that's what
very
we got to find
committed.
out.
We
But
got
he
a
was.
brief glimpse of him being a magician, so
Yeah.
maybe he's trying to do some sort of magic trick with the stick.
I love the little nuggets along the way that the writers are giving us, so we're trying to find out what it means. I feel like we're breaking down a Taylor Swift music video. We're going to find out what it means in the end with all
That
of
is
our
hilarious.
theories along the way.
I love that. Well, I guess that is our time, ladies. That is our time. We have discussed both episodes 1 and 2 last week. This week we discussed episode 3 down there. We have another episode coming up next week, episode 4, and we will discuss that right here at AfterBuzz TV next week. But until that time, where can we find you, Miss Kelsey?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Kels Hightower.
And Haley?
Instagram and Twitter at HeyJ, HAYJ_.
Taylor?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter at alphaba_Ann and on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_.
Yay! And you can find me, your girl Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic, over at Black Hollywood Live every Sunday at 5 p.m. Right before this show at 6 o'clock, you can find me at AfterBuzz on the General Hospital After Show, and of course every Sunday right here with my girls talking about American Princess on Lifetime. So until next week, hit us up on YouTube, give us some love there, give us those 5 stars on iTunes and Spotify, talk in the chat room on YouTube, let us know what you think. We will talk back, and we'll see y'all next week for episode 4 of American Princess on Lifetime.
Happy Gay Pride!
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.